zero doubt to me, and I'll arm wrestle somebody over it. Local SEO is the most important thing that a church plant needs to address as they're getting out of the gate, and can even start working on local SEO pre-launch. And so I just want to emphasize that. That's the number one, to me, the most important thing that a church plant should be focused on. However, you are the king of talking about content being king, okay? And when it comes to church websites, content is king. Yep. Churches create content consistently every single week. We're spinning up thousands upon thousands of words. We've got ministries that are full of content that makes, when optimized properly, websites very searchable for people who are looking for answers to questions or people who are looking for churches. So I want to kind of just spin things around a little bit and talk about content as far as church plants are concerned. So, we're working with a church that's been established for 10 or 15 or 20 years. They've got literally thousands of sermons at that point. There's a lot of content that church can have on their website. For a church plant, they have very little to no content when they first start out. What's your advice for what a church plant can do to make sure that they have good, relevant, searchable content on their website, the right kind of content, before they have a full library of sermon topics?
Yeah. So you have to kind of put it in perspective. Your number one goal when you're launching a church is what? You need people. You got to get people. So certainly people looking for a church is probably your number one focus. So what we just talked about with local SEO, again, your church, right? So I always try to keep that in perspective. Meeting new people, inviting them, go door to door, all that kind of stuff. So good. Do a direct mail piece. That's great. But I would say that digitally speaking, the two things you really want to focus on: local SEO, we've already talked about that, and probably do some kind of paid campaigns. That's going to generate traffic to your website instantly, right? You run a Facebook campaign, you invite people, they can click to get to your website. You just got traffic on your website. Now, let's talk about on-page SEO, which that's different from local SEO. Local SEO is your storefront, your brick and mortar place. On-page SEO is your website. You are not going to spin up your website and it's going to be found organically. It's just not going to happen. So this on-page SEO is kind of a long game. It's a marathon. And so in my opinion, with a church plant, what I always tell church plants is make sure you're doing the local SEO, make sure you're advertising. And then really the thing you want to focus on, in my opinion, first and foremost, is your homepage and your plan a visit page. And probably about you, because they want to know if you're the lead pastor, what do you look like and are you normal and all that kind of stuff. But I would say that homepage and plan a visit page, that's where you want to optimize. That's where you want to have content. And you want to explain that you are a church and you're located in Louisville, right? You want to have a local presence on that, where you're having content about the keywords of church, and this is the church, and we're all located here, and this is our belief, and you're invited, and that kind of a thing. Because you want to start to inform Google that you are a church and that you actually have something to offer. And if people are typing in churches near me, remember I said this before, 7 out of 10 people are going to click on an ad or the Google local pack. Only 3 out of 10 are going to scroll down to the organic search results. So is it important? Yes, to that 30%, you could gain some traffic, but your new church website is not going to outperform Yelp. It's not going to outperform other churches that are well established in the area. Just not going to happen in the short run. But long term, that's something you definitely want to play a part in. You want to start focusing on that. And if you can do that out of the gates early, you've just set yourself up for success for years to come. Because there's a lot of established churches that have been around for 15, 20 years. They have not taken the time to add content to their website. So they are ahead of you because they have longevity. But if you start that now, you are going to be in so much better shape 2, 3, 5 years from now. But I would say focus on your homepage and your plan a visit page. Content is king, as you've said, I do say it all the time. Not the king, we know who he is. But content is so important. So having images, having colors, having JavaScript where it loads and all this kind of cool stuff, and CSS, and even having a video is so important. The problem is Google can't crawl that. They don't crawl it. That's only for users to engage and go, wow, this is pretty cool, which I think is really important. But you want to have content, text on your homepage, your plan to visit page, your about us page that actually speaks, that's focused on that keyword of church. And if you do that right, you're going to start to show up organically over time.